of the Public Amenities Commission to order. It's 6:31 now. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Lang.
Present.
Commissioner Yusuf Zai.
Present.
Commissioner Galassi.
Present.
Commissioner Rowe.
Present.
Chair Morocco.
Present. Okay, can we stand for the salute to our flag? And Commissioner Galassi, if you can lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to item D, approving the order of the agenda. Does anybody want to move anything around? Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that we had considered, when we renumbered the agenda, the discussion L3 might come before L2 since the discussion about current and proposed committees might be best suited for after the discussion on strategies for promoting historic preservation, but it's up to the commission just to some insight or suggestion.
I think we're going to have some sort of committee on that.
Yeah.
So it may make some sense to actually give it some content, and that would be L3 as far as that goes.
That's fine.
And can we note for the record that Commissioner Caldwell is present?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the order agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the order's approved. We have a bunch of blue folder items, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we do.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to at least look at them? So can I get a motion to receive and file the blue folder items?
I'll make a motion to receive and file the items in the blue folder.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any public comment on the blue folder matters?
There are no public comments.
Great. Okay, so all those in favor of receiving and filing the blue folder items, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we're moving on to the consent calendar. And there are 5 items listed there. Does any member want to move something from the consent calendar to the excluded consent calendar? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. I would like to move F2 and F5. And by the way, just so you all know, we do have a member of the public here today that's actually a member of the council, and we'll get an opportunity to meet her, but I just wanted you to know that she's in the audience. Okay, so we have F1, F3, and F4. Can I get a motion to approve those items?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any public comment on any of those consent cal items?
There are no public comments.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay. Moving on to the excluded consent calendar, let's go to item F2. And since I'm the one who put this out here, I have a couple questions, our liaison. So what we presented today is a revised version of what was presented in August. And in August, we said the minutes were not consistent with what happened, and I volunteered to make the changes to that, and I made the changes to it, and now we have new minutes, and it's even more expanded than it was before.
Right.
And I'm talking about the August minutes. There's 2 items, obviously, on F2, August and October. So can you explain the process that went through in coming up with these
Absolutely.
new minutes?
I'm more than happy to. With your suggestions and recommendations, we wanted to submit those to the person that does the minute secretary to give them an opportunity to refine those minutes and bring them back. And that's exactly what they did after we reviewed them. So I understand there's a blue folder item. So we're happy to have a discussion about any corrections or edits to the documents so we can finally approve a version that's acceptable to the commission.
Okay, thank you. I did want to note, since you did include it in the materials, the ordinance 3298-25. And this is what I find interesting. It says city staff shall maintain a true copy of the correct record, which generally means you. So not the city clerk.
Okay.
So
We do, once it's voted upon, we do submit those to the city clerk. It gets uploaded to Legistar and Granicus so that the public can view the finally approved minutes by the commission.
so this was done by your direction?
Well, I
Or
wanted to
was it
give the
city clerk
minutes.
that directed it?
No, as my direction, I wanted to give the minute secretary an opportunity to revise the minutes and bring them back. So that was our goal. And like I said, we're more than happy to accept any sort of edits or changes that you want to the minutes. And once we have one approved by commission, we will sign those off and submit them to city clerk's office.
Okay. And was the only thing changed what I had worked on, the L2 section, or is it everything that was changed?
I believe there might have been some more detail added, which would, if you take a look at the two sets of minutes, I believe the revised minutes is 22 pages, and the one you provided was 17. I think that in the version that the chair submitted was just L2. So, you know, I just looked over them for accuracy, but I didn't do exact page by page, exactly. So
Right.
again, we're happy to accept the edits, recommendations, or changes and get back a more accurate version for you to approve and submit.
I have a question. Can
Go
I ask?
ahead.
Dana, I have a question. Does the city use Granicus to do the transcripts for the minutes, or are they manually being done?
They're manually being done by the city clerk's office, and I don't want to expand too much on it because I don't know. But in my experience, they have been doing an excellent job. There are revisions that come back. It happens. I catch mistakes. People catch mistakes on my material as well. It's hard to capture. I would also, I know that the minutes are the accurate record, but there is not only the video, but a transcript that's included. So anyone can go back and see what was actually said, but we understand the importance of the minutes.
And I believe the transcript is coming through YouTube. So if you pull it up on YouTube, you can hit the transcript function.
Actually, I think it's in the city portal. So when you click on the video through the city, not YouTube, there's a tab that says, blanking on the word, a transcript.
Okay,
And
great.
then it's actually verbatim, or it should be as best as the computer can do it.
So I wanted to go to page 23, which is page 16 of 22 of the minutes. And it's the certified local government annual report.
What page was that again, sir?
It's page 23 of the numbers on the far right corner and page 16 of 22 where it says minutes on the bottom of the page. It's like halfway down, it's the fourth, well, the third full paragraph.
Do you know a paragraph, what that starts with?
Starts with Commissioner Morocco mentioned that there's a state historic report. That reminds me of something else. Do you find it?
Yes.
Okay, so in the actual amendments that I had proposed last month, there's actually dates associated with it, and we're now in a second CLG, and the comments of the Community Development Director actually reflects that there's one report that's now 8 months delinquent. So we need to include the dates that were left out of there. And we're talking about the period ending 9/30/2024 before we were formed as a commission. And I assume that there's the new one being worked on by the new person that's been, is an independent contractor with the city. So that's one of them. I will note that there's, for example, on page 20, which is the start of L2, if you compare what was in the original report to what was in this minutes, you will see that they greatly expanded that. And again, I don't know if people were looking at that as part of that, but that wasn't there before. And then the one that I think really does need to be addressed is on page 25, which is 18 of 22. When we're talking about Wilderness Park, that's the second full paragraph. The part that is attributed to me is I mentioned that we voted to make a recommendation to have Wilderness Park considered. It wasn't we were voting on that. It was just to have a recommendation. That'll come in later when we talk about committees and referrals to staff. But the paragraph responded to by the community development director. I don't think we were saying the same thing. So it makes the community development director sound a little bit more terse and saying, you can't tell us what to do. So I'm suggesting that look at that. And then it has discussion followed regarding the recommendations, and it can be revisited as a member item to staff. It just seems like a dangling paragraph at that point. So I think it does need to be fixed, and I would suggest fixing it consistent with what the amendments were that I had drafted for you. I will tell Commissioner Lang that there's a lot of stuff that were added to the stuff that you asked about. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but it does expand on the questions you had.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have with that one. It may make sense to table it so that you can look at it again. So my recommendation is to table it till the next meeting, and hopefully we give everybody a chance to look at the new and expanded stuff. So if I can get a motion to do that. You guys can approve it as it is if you want to, but I'm asking that you table it. So.
Didn't you just make a motion, or did
I
you not?
didn't.
Yeah, I
make-
second your motion.
Okay. Any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay. It's been moved and second that we table this to the next meeting for the August 13th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, thank you. So that is tabled to the next meeting. I also think that we should table October 8th, 2025 to the next meeting, but I'm open to your thoughts as well. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to move that we table October 8th to the next month as well.
Wouldn't they be a part of the same item?
Uh,
And we just voted on the item?
We can do it that way, but
Well, that's what
I broke it out when I started talking about what was the change for the first one.
Okay.
Anyway, I made a motion to table. Is there a second?
I'll make a motion to second. I'll second that motion, rather.
Okay. Any discussion? Any public comment?
There are no public comments.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I'll abstain. I didn't attend the meeting.
Okay, so that motion passes as well. The next thing on the, that I asked to be moved is item F5. And the only reason I put that there, this is basically everything that the city council passed at the last, back in October. but I did want you to note some things on it. Some items in those amending ordinances wholesalely replace what was in the ordinance before. Some are just amendments to certain sections. So when you consider what the ordinance is, you may have to look at the old ordinance until they actually publish it into the, and I believe they're effective as of this week, until they publish it in the city ordinances, you may have to look at two things at once on it. What I do want to also highlight is item on section, it's on page 73, it's page 6 of ordinance 3298-25, and it does tie into the comments that we talked about with regards to not being able to tell the staff anything on that. In section 2.9-111, limited and restricted scope of powers and duties of commissioners, and I think this is consistent completely with what Commissioner Caldwell has always pointed out to us. In subsection A, it says each commission is reviewing and advising recommending body only. So everything that we do, when we get to referrals to staff, I'm going to ask you, which body are you recommending we do it to? So everything does need to be tied into either advising or recommending. And then section B, and this will tie into later, each commission shall have no power, duty, responsibility, or role to, one, demand that any particular city staff, personnel, contractor, elected, appointed official, or any other person to appear at a meeting, and two, demand any documents or information be provided to or generated for the commission. There may be some ambiguity in that sentence, the last sentence, but essentially, so when we present something that comes out of an agenda item, and I had this discussion already with our Deputy Director in Community Services, we need to at least be very clear that we're not demanding or anything. And Commissioner Caldwell, you were really good about this. So I'm the one who probably will step over the line on this as I discuss it. So just please remind me that we
You
need
said
to
it,
do
not
that.
us.
What?
You said it, not us.
Well, it's true. It's usually a request, but it comes out like a demand. So please be my conscience on it. So those are the only two things I wanted to bring out so that people are aware of. Is there any other discussion on F5?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you pulled that, actually, because I made a couple of notes that I wanted to talk about. So in the ordinance 3304-25,
What page is that?
that is page, one second, please. That's under the recreation and parks duties. So I'm still kind of unclear on item number 1, where it says public recreation related entertainment. What exactly does that mean? Public recreation related entertainment, like what is that exactly? What would be an
Programs?
instance? What would be an instance in which?
What page are you on again?
That was,
60 something?
that is page 3.
Okay.
Letter C, recreation and parks duties. Act as an advisor to the city council in all matters pertaining to public recreation programs, including playgrounds and public recreation related entertainment. So I know we mentioned, for example, entertainment for when you had the party at the historical museum. So, and what other thing would possibly fall under that?
Maybe we should ask our deputy director, since that's falling under the sphere of Parks and Rec.
So I certainly don't want to put words in the mouth of our council because they are the ones that drafted and approved this. My understanding of this section here is, to your point, events at the Historical Museum or citywide There's obviously an entertainment factor to be had there. We haven't delved into performances and activities at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center, but that could also be something. It's not explicitly stated in this section that that facility is part of it, but it is a public amenity. So there is a connection there. So I think in terms of the use of the word entertainment here, it's really just a really broad kind of umbrella term that's being used here instead of being explicit for a certain activity.
Okay, so that would come from your office, if anything, to the
Correct.
commission?
Yes.
Got it.
The only caution I would do with that is cultural arts seems to have also the performing arts thing. So
Yeah.
you would direct us of which lane we should be in?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 2, review and provide recommendations to the city council on annual budget related to recreational programming across the city through the city manager. So, you know, one of the things that always, I always questioned is how do we provide such recommendation at the end of the year, you know, without really knowing all the details along the way. And if the city could provide more transparency, more frequent reports as to numbers and reservations, for example, as this will come up with tennis and pickleball, for example. That way we can understand, you know, how those programs are going. So that was my question is, you know, how can we move in that direction so that we can get more information so that we can do our job better?
Yeah, I don't think there's a simple answer to that. And the reason why I say that is because at least when it comes to recreation, because that's the section we're in, our umbrella of recreation activities and programs and services is very broad. And so for us to provide that level of detail, especially when it comes to the financials, which we have the information, it's just how do we present it to you in a understandable and manageable way for you all to input, but then also is manageable for us to continually provide to you on some sort of a basis for it. I do think that if we were to look at the nitty gritty of our budgetary line items, it makes the most sense to do that for special projects. So for example, if we're looking at Park Ranger, if there's some certain sort of budgetary line items we should look at for that. Pickleball, when we're considering for Alta Vista, if we need to delve into what our revenue is for tennis so we can project how much we would anticipate for additional pickleball membership revenue, we can certainly do that. But I do caution the commission on going down the path of expecting really large-scale regular financial reports. Not that we don't want to share it or that we don't have it. I just having that broader kind of regular reporting without having the context of where some of these numbers are coming from, I think could potentially cause more confusion than what we would hope for. So all that to say, we're happy to provide it, but I would recommend us doing it as projects come up and they're specific to those projects so that we can have that conversation and there's a context behind the numbers that we're sharing. To go back to your initial question as it relates to the budget, if there is high-level information that would be helpful for you to have the month prior that the city manager comes so that you have the benefit of having that information, we could certainly walk that with you and see what kind of information we can provide. So we may have to do a slow walk on that just to make sure we provide you the information that's helpful, but also is manageable for our team to gather. But I don't know if that really answered your question or just kind of danced around it. It's just hard to respond because we have such a large umbrella of programs and services that we would provide.
Understood. I guess, you know, I just want to go back to just saying that, you know, we want to really be able to do our job well and to, if we're going to comment on something, to really understand what it is that we're saying. So we don't want, I would like to not make any mistakes if possible, you know, so that's the motivation behind my actual question is to ensure that we're, you know, we have the tools with which to do our job.
Sure, and as one of the liaisons for the commission, that's my goal, is to make sure you have the information you need for any item that's before you. So if there's something we can do in the interim to get you there, I'm certainly happy to have that discussion offline, and then maybe we can figure out how to best present it to the commission in the future.
Wonderful, thank you.
And when we get to L2, one of the things I'm going to suggest, and this came from experience working with the Library Commission and the Historical Commission, is we have the ability to draft letters. And when it comes time to budget time, we can give the city a wish list of things that we would like to get. We won't probably get most of them, but we should have something in place so that if our liaison says, hey, we need to get that letter out, we at least have something in place that we can actually start with. And that would make the committee have to work with the liaison and then the other liaisons to come up with these things. And I think that ultimately will happen. My understanding, and we have a council person who can correct me, is that the CIP stuff starts percolating up in January. And so if there are big projects that we need to do, we need to at least start thinking about what's on our dream list. It may not happen. We may not have something that we've had a couple of years ago with the pensions bond stuff, but just start dreaming about it. And if you want to be part of the writing group, at least we'll have something in place that if our liaison says, hey, we need something, or the commission says we need something coming from the commission, we have something in place already. Does that work?
Absolutely, thank you. Before we're done, I just have one thing to mention. Go ahead, I think you had some more things to
I also
address.
had a question.
Yeah.
Is it, yeah, I have a couple
Go
more
right ahead.
things.
Sorry to
But
interrupt.
is it part of that, or?
No, it's just
Oh.
kind of an overall general
Oh, okay.
statement.
Then, under ordinance 3305-25, let me get you to the page, 3305-25, and it's 10-4.302. If you want to scroll down to that. So I just wanted to bring that to all of our attentions because the eligibility of potential resources is 50 years old, with the exception of ones that are 30 years of age that are exceptional or that could be threatened by demolition, removal, relocation, or inappropriate alteration. So what does that mean exactly? So that's all properties up to 1975.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
And as we know, our survey does not include those houses. However, properties up to 1975 can come before the commission. Is that correct?
Okay, so it's
According to this-
actually in 3305 in the definitions. That's the answer to your question. And this is one of the questions I actually have for our community development director. It says potential historic resource, and this is on page 83 of the book. It's page 3 of the 3305 section. It does say that it comes before us if it's listed in the city historic resources inventory with certain parameters, listed in the National Register of Historic Places, and or 3, that has been evaluated pursuant to CEQA, determined by the community development director to meet the criteria listed in 1 and 2. So the way I'm reading this, and I don't know how the city is going to be reading this, is that if we have something that's built in 1960, that the community development director, I don't know if he is required to, has the discretion to, needs to look at it through a CEQA lens, and then if it does fit into something that would be before us, it needs to come before us. So it's kind of a way to expand the resource list without necessarily having to do the resource list. And when we get to the other the referrals to staff, that was one of the questions I have as well, to get a clearer answer. But again, I have a council person here, so they can actually take it back to the council to get the clarification on it. Anything else?
I had something else, but I'm gonna leave it. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Commissioner Lang, you had some comments, questions?
Yes, I do have a question. So in the 329825, under the subcommittees, let me see, I think it's B, it's 2-9101, organization meetings, chairperson meeting cancellation. So it'd be under B, commissions may form subcommittees on subject matters. So we talked about it briefly at the last meeting, but there's going to be, they want to, the subcommittees must have a defined termination date and/or terminate upon the completion of a specified task or purpose. Are we understanding, for instance, I'm on the facility users subcommittee, which is, in my opinion, an incredibly valuable subcommittee, and it does ongoing work. So are we understanding that, is that something that needs to be renewed every year, or is it something that can be ongoing?
You know, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. When we do the committees, I think it's more appropriate to, because there's an intent to have a time limitation on it, is that we renew it every year. So when we get to the committee discussion,
You want to cover
I'm
that?
going to start with the committees that we have and ask if they want to renew it. The weird thing is there's one committee that I have the full discretion as the chair, which I'm not sure that they have it, but I don't have to present it to you guys to approve it or not, the way it's written here. So I'm going to recommend that when we get to the item L2, we talk about the term, we talk about, and I'm going to go through all the different lanes that we have, so we can tie it into a specific purpose that the council asks us to look at. Because again, we're just recommending, and there's certain things that we're allowed to do and certain things we're not allowed to do. Facility users covers a lot of the different points, so we can be specific on that if that's, you know, something that you guys want to do.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay.
I just had one thing to add. So these were approved by council on October 14th and will take effect November 15th. From that date forward, all boards and commissions will be governed by these ordinances and the municipal code sections. Council crafted these regulations to simplify administration and clarify the purpose and purview of each commission. I also like to add that forthcoming in the near future will be a code of conduct that will be adopted, and after that is adopted, my understanding is city clerk is going to arrange some training for commissioners and liaisons.
Great. That took care of my item N on that topic because it's mentioned on the in the ordinance. But great. And if we'll get to that when we get to committees and stuff like that. Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners on item F5? Does the council person wish to talk about F5 while you're here, or do you want to just save it for public comment?
Good evening, commissioners. I will tell you that I came to speak on a specific topic. I was not prepared to talk on that topic, but I should know better coming before Commissioner Morocco that he would give me an assignment coming here. So I will take that back and we'll clarify some things.
Okay. We have some other things that probably will want clarification as well.
Okay.
Okay. And we have another member of the public. Do you want to speak on this, or do you want to?
I'm sorry, I actually just became aware of the naming of the park for Bill Brand on my phone.
Okay,
I just
so-
wanted to lend my support.
It's non
Okay, it's coming up. It's coming up shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we get through this thing, that's going to come up. Okay, so any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay, any comments from staff on this one, since it does involve staff? Okay. So although I move that we receive and file the amended ordinances. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, we're moving on. So that takes care of item G and the 2 items there. Public participation in non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with an opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on the agenda for action. The section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. There will be a clock on the wall over there. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests, if any, will be considered under this section. So do we have any written people wanting to speak?
No, there's nobody online. There were no e-comments.
Okay. Ma'am, did you want to address us? Wait until you get it to the
My
lectern.
name's Kathy McLeod. I'm a 50-year resident of Redondo Beach. And I just became aware of tonight's meeting on my way home. And so I'm speaking perhaps out of turn, but I just wanted to lend my support. And I know the support of literally dozens and dozens of residents in my area to name the park after Bill Brand at Redondo. Bill Brand, in our opinion, was the heart of the city, and he's done so much for this city, and it would be in his honor and his legacy to the city to name the park at Redondo after his name. And I fully support that, and I know so many people that would really support that. So I just wanted to chime in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're not generally allowed to comment on it, but you do have 2 people here that would be able to take it back to the people who actually make those decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to do public participation? No?
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll spare you.
What?
I'll spare you.
Oh, come on now. Step on up.
Okay. So that takes, you said there's nobody online or anything like that?
There's nobody online.
Okay, so we're done with item H. Ex-party communications, we don't have any public hearings, so I don't think we have to go through disclosing ex-party communications. So I'm going to say we finished with item I, and we're moving on to item J, and we have no public hearings, so we're moving forward with that. We have no items continued from previous agenda, so we'll move through that, which brings us to item L. And there's 3 items under item L, and the first one is item L1, which is the receive and file design for Franklin Park Playground and Replacement Project and provide input. And I believe, Ms. Orta, you have the floor on this.
Thank you. So I do have a presentation. We'll get that up momentarily.
Can hear you.
Sorry about that. How's that?
Okay.
So we're here tonight to share with you some conceptual designs of our Franklin Park Playground replacement project. This is probably one of my favorite things that I get to do as part of my job. It's been a handful of parks throughout my career that I have had the honor to work with on either redeveloping or replacing the playground. And so this is another one that I'm just really excited to bring forward. This is a really great community-focused project. So for you tonight, before I dig into all of this, is, as Chair Morocco stated, is to receive and file the designs and then provide you an opportunity to allow you an opportunity to provide us input on the playground, so that when we take it to the City Council for formal approval, we will share that with them so they have your input on the project. So just some very high-level information on the project. As part of the 24-25 budget, the City Council allocated $500,000 for this project, which is purely just to replace the existing playground, including the surfacing, so the underlayment under the playground itself. All of that would be replaced, specifically for an all abilities play space. And so this would be the first of its kind in the city of Redondo Beach, to essentially have an all-inclusive playground, which is for children with any type of physical or developmental disabilities. In order to get us to this point, we did develop a stakeholder group. The members included park users. We focused on occupational therapists and other developmental professionals to make sure that some of the playground elements were consistent with the needs and kind of interactive capabilities of children with developmental delays, as well as parents and family of children with disabilities. And then we had members of our Franklin Park Subcommittee from this commission, which is Commissioners Lane, Caldwell, and Galassi. This subcommittee was created by staff through the consultation of Councilmember Kalujevic, who is here this evening, whose district Franklin Park sits in. And so this really was a community-focused stakeholder group that we put together as specifically for the all abilities intention of the playground. The stakeholder group has met several times, discussed the project at length. We had a few different meetings with playground professionals, as well as those that have more of a background on inclusive play, and put together a proposed playground design. And this is just a very black and white aerial view of the playground. Just wanted to share this with you so you can see the main components of the playground is one single structure. So it does include some ramping so you can get to different levels, and provides an opportunity for children of any ability. The ramping is low level and is very low in its elevation. And so wheelchairs, walkers, anyone, it makes it much more easier for them to kind of navigate through. And then what we did is we sprinkled as many standalone elements that we could around the perimeter of the playground. And I'll show you some photos in just a moment. But what we really tried to do here is maximize the use of a very limited space. If any of you are familiar with the current footprint of the Franklin Park playground, it's not very large. So when you couple that with the need for ramping, which is required for inclusive play, we were very limited on our opportunities here, but we really settled on what I think is a really great opportunity for us to maximize the number of playground elements at this potential playground throughout the structure itself, as well as different interactive capabilities on some of the perimeter elements. So we'll get into some of those in just a moment. This is a color image of the concept. As I stated, it includes low-level ramping. There is the inclusion of slides, different kinds of slides. There's tube slides and then open slides. We do have a platform rocker, which is very cool. I'll show you a photo of that in just a moment. That is large enough for wheelchairs and other wheeled devices to enter. Several climbers. We do have some spinners throughout, which are a little more interactive. A lot of sensory boards. We used the opportunity of having the additional ramping to utilize the actual railings as some space for some additional sensory type of activities for children to participate in. There's some chimes, some musical instruments throughout, really good for sensory, and as well as a shadow caster, which is more of just a visual element. And again, I'll show you some of those as we kind of go through the slides. So a few other things, just wanted to high level point out that the colors were also a big part of this consideration. We did look at several different palettes and settled on this one because it does add a pop of color. There's the lighter green color as well as some of the lighter purples and then the blues, of course. So it was enough to be inviting and engaging for children, but also somewhat muted because we also wanted to make sure that those that have visual sensitivities weren't kind of put off by the playground and that they actually felt comfortable entering into. Want to also point out that the blue shade structures, let me actually go back. So you can see the blue shade structures that are surrounding the playground, not the one in the center, but the ones surrounding are existing. Those are currently there, and they're the exact same color. They are the same manufacturer as the playground equipment, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a few slides from now. But just want to let you know that we did try to coordinate those existing structures with the structure that will be included in the playground. And since they are the same manufacturer, they are made from the same materials and will have the same look. So not only are they the same color, but overall it will be really consistent, really cohesive throughout that entire play area. And so I'm just going to quickly go through some other slides here, point out some of the elements. This is just another angle from, I believe this is the northeast area of the playground looking. You can see the tube slide here, and then you can see along that railing, those are some of our sensory boards. On the railing itself, there'll just be different components. So each one of those circles essentially will be something different. Some make noise, some have kind of touch and feel variations, others have moving parts. There's just a lot of different things that we can plug in there as we get to that final phase. These are our wind chimes, another audible sensory component here, and also visually. It's also something the kids can kind of climb in and around for the more, those that aren't in walkers or wheelchairs. And this large green circular piece here, that is our rocker. I believe there was another photo. I guess I didn't include it. It is included in the packet, but there's an aerial view of this. So the rocker, you enter to the right of it, and it's large enough for up to 4 wheelchairs based on the photo that I saw. And the kids go in there, or adults, really, anyone in a wheelchair can go in, and you just simply rock back and forth. So it gives them the opportunity to actually enter into a piece and to physically move with it, whereas they don't typically have that opportunity to in other playground components. And you can also see here towards the bottom right is the wheelchair that's entering one of the entry ramps. And you can see, it's kind of hard to see it exactly, but each ramp goes up to about 1 foot before its next landing. So the first landing from that ramp is where that green triangular covering is. And so from the landing pad of that green area down to the ground level is about 1 foot of difference. And so you can see that allows the ease of moving any type of wheeled devices up and down and throughout the playground. And it is a wider base. And so the ramping as well as the landing pads are wider so that there's more opportunity for movability with the wheeled devices. And here's just another visual of if you're in the one of the landing pads, you can see there's a little bit more space kind of in and around that area, again, for the movability of wheeled devices, or in this case, a child that has some sort of a walking guide or crutches. And then this, we shared just because you can see this is the shadow casting element. So this is essentially almost like a stained glass piece that sits atop of a pole, and as the sun at different times of the day will cast shadows in that color on the ground. And so another visual kind of sensory opportunity for play. So the funding for this, as I stated, we had $500,000 that was allocated from our fiscal budget in 24-25. Happy to report that since then, our team has been working to see if there's ways that we can either supplement or help support the city's budgetary restrictions. And the LA Kings Foundation has donated $75,000 to this park. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. And then we also are the recipients of a Game Time CPRS grant. So CPRS is the California Parks and Recreation Society, which we are members of, is a statewide organization for parks and rec professionals. And they partnered with Game Time, which is the playground manufacturer that will be providing this equipment for us. They were the same ones that had provided the blue shade structures that are existing. And so this grant essentially provided us 50% discount on the equipment order. And so that cost is $99,000. And so the project cost as a whole, so not including these grant funds or the foundation donation, our project cost is about $390,000. And so we are expecting to be under budget by $185,000. This is assuming nothing goes wrong. This is assuming we do demo and it's perfectly placed so that we can just get in there and lay everything down. But it is nice to know we do have a little bit of a buffer if something does come up. And it's also one of the few projects I've worked on that we anticipate this early on to be under budget. So something really exciting, but we are working towards, these are our final budgetary numbers here. So for the LA Kings Foundation donation, One of the, or actually the component that we're working on them with, if you can see in this picture, we zoomed in a little bit, you can see the crowns that are on the poles. These will not be the final crowns, but what we're going to be doing is developing a scavenger hunt throughout the playground, if you will. And so there will be a completely separate message board that will be placed somewhere in the playground. We haven't quite decided where. It won't inhibit any walkability or maneuverability, but we will place it, and it'll basically say, search through the playground for the king's crowns. And so we will use their actual logo crown. This is actually one of their old logos. And then we are thinking of also incorporating the paw print, which is for Bailey. Their mascot is a lion. And so we were going to incorporate, they actually have an official brand of Bailey's paw. So we will be using that. So it'll be essentially telling the kids, look through the playground for 5 crowns and 5 paws, if that's the number we land on. But just wanted to show you here the visual representation of what this will look like. The placement of these crowns won't be definitively in these locations. This is just for example purposes. And like I stated, the crowns themselves will also look different, but just to give you a visual of how we're incorporating the kings without really over branding the playground. We really wanted it to be a neighborhood park, a place to go, but also celebrate this generous donation from the Kings. So there will be branding of the Kings on the display board for the scavenger hunt, and then as well on the crowns and paw prints throughout the playground. So for the project timeline, we are hoping to have this completed by late spring or early summer of next year. And again, that's as long as everything goes as planned. That includes everything from approval of final design with City Council, which we're hoping to do sometime in December, as well as obviously execute the contract, do the full demolition, fabricate, and then do full installation. And the installation, I just want to specify, will also include the underlayment, the poured in place playground surfacing. And so the recommendation for you tonight, as I stated at the beginning, is to receive and file the playground design and then provide any input that we will share with the City Council when we take it to them for approval. There are some additional images of the playground that were included with your report in the attachment. I did try to highlight some of the more focused ones through the presentation, but this concludes my report. I'm happy to kind of toggle back through any slides if you'd like to speak through any of the elements. And then I don't know if Councilmember Kalijedovich had anything to add to the report, but just appreciate all of her support and work on the project so far. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lang, Caldwell, or Galassi, do you want to add anything since you were on that committee?
So we had a little bit of a snafu because I think Commissioner Caldwell allowed me to step into the commission, but it didn't get back to staff so I only participated in one meeting, but Commissioner Galassi was at all of them. So just to clarify.
Want to add anything to the presentation?
Sure. So I think it's important for folks to know why no swings were included in this design, and because we were working with such a small footprint, it was decided that we wanted more elements and more ability for kids to move around. Mm-hmm. And so we also noted that at the school itself, they will have their own playground with potentially, they would have their own swings. So there are, I counted 9 perimeter amenities. That's a lot. I really was only expecting to see maybe 5. So that was really nice. When I looked at this plan now, it was really pretty full. So we got a lot in there for the amount of money that that this project is costing. And the only thing really, I have 2 other things. The shadow play element, I was sort of unclear on, as in, other than casting a shadow, really what would the benefit or the purpose for the kids
to that one, if there was any flexibility in maybe changing that to something else. Are we set on that particular element?
I mean, as of right now, we're not set on any element. This is just what we've developed right now, and so we're looking for input tonight. That was just an element that was added because it does add that visual, something different on the playground. I don't even think it moves. I think that piece is stationary, and so depending on where the sun is shining, so it would cast colors and different elements on the ground and potentially the playground as well. But other than that, there's no kind of interactive piece to that.
Do we have enough room? Is that a potential location for something else? Is, I guess, my next question.
It could be. And
Okay.
so one of the things that I wanted to share on here is you can see, it's kind of hard to see on here, but if you look to the right-hand side where it has the duo spinner, that circle piece that's kind of on the piece that's hanging out a little bit, there's a light circle that's around the duo spinner. So that circle is the safety zone or the fall zone, essentially. So any piece that moves or has some sort of interactivity with a child that's actually moving on the piece has to have that fall zone. And so you can see any of those pieces has that gray circle that's surrounding it. And you can see that gray circle is surrounding the entire playground itself, the structure. And so all that to say, what we could do is the stationary pieces don't have that because obviously there's nothing moving. The child is not physically moving in those pieces. So you can see the wind chimes, those don't have a safety zone around those at all. Some of the other fidget panels don't have that either. So we could replace where that shadow play, so the shadow play is the one on the left-hand side. You can see there is space to put something there. So we could simply swap that out with something else as long as there's enough space for that piece to fit within that area and is not moving or doesn't require the child to move with it.
Okay, I just wanted to know if that was a possibility in the event that my fellow commissioners wanted to know if that was, if that was something we could do. The other, I guess, clarification I needed was on the funding. So I guess I laid it out in a different way. So the cost of this project is $390. The $390 includes the grant, correct?
No.
The three, that's a good question. I'm trying to picture
Because in my math, if I did the 390 and the 75, that comes out to 185 under. So essentially the project is costing 315, if I did my math right? No.
So, yeah, so the 390 includes the CPRS grant.
So it does include the
It
grant.
does include it.
It does
yes.
include it.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, the project without the grant, without the LA Kings little pile of money, came out to be 489. So that's still under budget.
Yes.
So we're talking that the project itself is costing 315, including the grant and the 75. Is that right? Is that what the?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
So we had that committee meeting, subcommittee meeting on 9/16/25. And I was in that meeting, Commissioner Glassy was, and I don't think anyone else joined us. Is this design the same one that was presented on that day? So nothing was changed at all?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And another question I have is Commissioner Glassy mentioned that the school has swings, but children from the public do not have access to those swings, correct?
Potentially, it will have swings. We don't know exactly what they're going to have because it hasn't been built yet.
Okay, but the kids from the public won't have access to
To my
that.
knowledge, I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so this park is a public park, but the playground that the school has is just for the school children. So it doesn't really matter what they have there because the kids in the neighborhood can't use that.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And then My other question is, well, I'll just give some, okay, oh, this is my question. So it said that park users were included in this discussion. And how did you guys receive that input from park users? Like, were they children? Were they people in the neighborhood? Were they invited to a community meeting? I'm just curious.
It was through the stakeholder group. So many of the stakeholder members wore several hats. Some of them were developmental, occupational therapists or family members of children with disabilities, and have frequented the current playground at Franklin Park. So they know the neighborhood and the surrounding area.
Okay, so I was just unclear on that because it seemed as though the two professionals that were invited in, it wasn't clear if they had children themselves that used that park or other parks. So they do or they don't?
I don't remember if the two professionals did, but I know that there was at least one family on there that had a child with a disability and potentially more. I just can't remember off the top of my head the makeup.
Okay, so I did share with the subcommittee that I would have liked to have seen some like taller climbing objects for some other kids that might be able to, maybe needed a little bit more strenuous physical output, since it's so important to their physical and mental growth. And if we're park poor here in Redondo, and so I thought that would be really nice to bring those elements into this park space as well. But I did notice that nothing got added, and that's totally fine. You guys received my comments, and then you decided to move forward without adding any of those things. But I just wanted to, since this is the place to share feedback, I just wanted to mention that was a point of discussion. And I just moving forward with park design, I do think that, taking feedback from everybody in the surrounding area that might be using the park would, be a really nice way to kind of incorporate their need, like everyone's needs, I guess. Those are my only notes.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Caldwell?
I didn't have any questions, just a couple of comments. First, I love the design. I'm very pleased to see the city pursue the LA Kings Foundation and the grants. The only thing I was going to add, and you might have already done this, is obviously the Friendship Foundation is going to be nearby. I don't know if there's any partnership or opportunity with them. I know that they are very engaged and involved in our communities and our schools, so perhaps there's an opportunity there. And then I actually, during the presentation, I was looking at some aerial maps of the park itself. And, I would assume that once this project is completed, you'll see an increase in perhaps the amount of visitors and children there. And it's a great opportunity to upgrade the park in general. And so there is a drinking fountain right next to the play area. There's a structure, I assume it's a restroom, but I'm not exactly sure, that you guys could always update those drinking fountains by contacting the water district. Not only West Bay Municipal Water District, but Cal Water Service Company as well, who are great partners for projects like that. So if there's an opportunity to partner, I think possibly reduce costs would be a great opportunity for the city.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Yusufa, you have any comment?
No, I have no comments on this.
Commissioner Rowe?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Would you mind going to the overhead map? This is more of an educate me and maybe other commissioners here. So I don't know much about, these types of parks, the inclusivity. Tell us if you know anything about the communication panel up on the upper right. What is that exactly? I'm just curious what that is, a communication panel.
So there's different variations of these, but some of the more popular ones that I've seen in most parks will give you hand signals so that you can go up to a child who may not be able to have the ability to speak. So it'll give you a hand signal for hello or,
Cool.
thank you. And a lot of it's in sign language, but it just gives another opportunity for children with some sort of developmental delay.
Interesting. Let's see. There's a couple more I saw. I'm just curious about, there was something else here, but I appreciate the detail on this. There was another one too. Just, I love the fact that you've got these sensory things. And I personally think that the shadow play, if you've ever been to the Manhattan Beach Library, they have this wonderful circular object that has these colored panels, and it's fascinating. So I think I love the idea of the colored flower. There's one more I thought about that was just out of curiosity's sake. Maybe it was the fidget panel. What would that be? Just out of curiosity.
That's probably has different pieces that can move or
Yeah.
can turn around in circles. It's just different elements to kind of play with and move around.
All right, just curious, but thank you for the explanations. I appreciate that. Looks good.
Of course.
Okay, if you think of more, you can interrupt, but I do have some questions on page 4 of your presentation. Is that street that's there Ralston? No, you have right there.
This
That
one?
street, is that Ralston? Is that where it is in relation?
No, I think that's Fisk. Is that correct? Yeah, that's Fisk.
Okay, so is that where they used to have the colonnades? Is this where this is going?
Are you talking about the trellises?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is that same area. So those blue shade structures that are on the perimeter of the playground, those 4 of them, replace the trellises.
Okay. My other question is the surface, is that all polyurethane?
It'll be that plastic, the rubberized, the same thing that we have at most of our other playgrounds.
I know.
Do you have a picture of the spinners? I mean, when I see spinners, I think of the kinds that used to be at Snarry Park where everybody runs around and then jumps on the thing and then they fly off.
Yeah.
Is that what
I don't
we're
think they
talking
do
about?
those anymore.
No, not
Should.
quite. Let me see.
That's what my kids did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all did that.
So I don't see them on here. They're, let me actually pull up, because I think there is one in the attachment. They're just almost like bucket seats that are big enough for 2 children to sit in. There was one in the background, but, so this is the spinner here. So you can see their children, they're sitting back to back and they're just spinning in it right
Okay,
here.
so they can't go like super fast like we-
No, and they control it from the center, so it's not even, yeah, there's some
Is it like a
resistance.
Disneyland
darting
Tea
out on
Festival?
No, there's resistance on there, so we want to make sure that it's safe for all children and abilities. Yeah, I was trying to see if I can have a closer one, but
Okay, go up to 3 now. Right, the one with the, go down one, that one. Okay, so what are those things on the right side of the picture, those 2 things?
So this is this would be most likely where the board will go for the LA Kings scavenger hunt items. So you could see on here, it says, if you can read it a little bit, it says find the critters. So Game Time already does something like this, but they have their own sets of critters, which are typically frogs. We actually have them at Dominguez Park if anyone's ever been. And so we would have this as our board that would say, find the King's images, and we'd have most likely a picture of Bailey, the mascot, the cartoon image there. The one on the right is another sensory panel. I don't recall exactly what that one does, but I believe that one has the different, almost like one of the fidget boards, those different elements there that can spin and move depending on the different colorings on that board.
Okay. Is there places for the parents to sit down while the kids are exploring in there?
The area surrounding, so here under the where the trellises used to be, are benches.
Okay. What's the capacity of, how many kids can this accommodate?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because I have a feeling, because it's one of the nicer amenities added to a park, you're going to get a lot of kids from all over the place coming there.
I don't know that I've ever seen an official capacity for a playground ever, because it's hard to, especially for an all abilities playground, because, the capacity for all children participating in a wheelchair is different than all those that potentially could walk but have a visual sensitivity. So I don't know that, I can certainly ask our developer for this and see if there's a number, but I don't know that I've ever seen one for a playground before.
Okay. And you're asking for input, so I have 2 pieces of input to give. If you can scroll down a couple of screens. Right there. Perfect. You see that big blue area over there? on the, right
This-
next to the slide.
Oh, right here, the blue
The
here?
little wall with the trellis on top of it.
Oh,
That would be a great place to put a big thing of the city logo over there, so it
are
kind
you
of,
saying right here on the side of the panel?
yeah, that would be a nice place to do it, and again, I'm throwing that out there. Also, so Franklin Park and that whole neighborhood used to be called El Nido Gardens, and at some point, we will be asking the community development director about the possibility of either having a history overlay zone or making that whole area like one big historic district, since it's so unique in its approach to the city, and it's also one of the nicer areas in the whole city that would stand out. Is there a possibility of adding a history of Franklin Park to somewhere near that general area?
I mean, I think there's possibility for a sign, definitely.
I'm
I don't
just
know if
throwing out
it's
ideas, so
something,
it's not
sure.
like-
Yeah, I don't know that it's something that we had, well, I should say, we did not think about incorporating it as part of this project, but we certainly could if that's what the commission and council would like us to do.
I have one more question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not asking you to do it. I'm just saying that, hey, this is something that, Warren may like it if you put something in there. It is a very unique area for those of you who haven't been over there. Go ahead. You had a question?
Is there going to be signage explaining the elements in the park and that they are for all abilities?
Yes, I think that there is a sign similar to this. This is actually one of the standard signs that Game Time has that would say, this is an all abilities playground. I forgot what the language is, but they have a standard sign that they put for inclusive playgrounds that talks about this is for children of all abilities and kind of goes into that. There would not be signage for each element or kind of throughout the park, but there would be one kind of main sign introducing the park. Or the playground, excuse me.
I was just thinking that I know this is like a point of pride for the city and for Councilwoman Page. I don't want to butcher her last name, sorry. And, it's so nice to maybe read, the story behind the park and just to maybe give it a little bit of context. And also on the city website, maybe include a brief description of the park and just note that it's an all abilities playground, because I know that, when people are looking for things to do, this would be like a draw for a lot of people outside of the community. So it might be something that we put on the city website. I think that would be really nice and a good way to honor everyone's hard work on this.
Any other comments? Okay, so is there any public comments out there?
There are no public comments.
Did you want to comment on it at this point?
Thank you, Commissioners. Paige Kalajetovich, City Council Member, District 3. I want to thank all of you that helped on this project. And just to speak to some of the other members on this working group were neighbors that had special needs, either grandchildren, children, and that frequented the park. So that was part of the process of that. Also the collaboration with the Friendship Campus, even in the color palette, so that, as they're building this beautiful campus, that we're not building something that clashes with it. So everything is complementary. And so this park, as I've learned from Warren, who is the unofficial mayor of the park, he is a neighbor and a very enthusiastic public servant even. And he has explained to me that this park was initially designed by residents, the entire park, every hill, every tree placed there. So it is a point of pride for the neighborhood. And that was part of the challenge in designing this, that they wanted the footprint of this playground to be, they didn't want it to change. So it was a small space, and that was a challenge in creating height and things to climb on. But fortunately, the park is furnished with many great climbing trees. Ask my kids, they'll show you all the good ones. And it was, so not just important, what I've learned from speaking with all these families is a place for kids to play, that there's nothing in this playground that they kind of need to look out for, right? This is designed for everyone. But that is such a relief, not just for kids that feel included, but families that have just, a sigh of relief that they can take their kids to these places and just feel like, I don't need to have an eagle eye out all the time. So and there was a big discussion around swings. Not everyone loves swings, but they are really fun for a lot of kids, that movement, but they require such a buffer zone that it consumed the entire space. And not only that, but within, state regulations maybe, but just within playgrounds, the way you have to do swings is if you want a bucket swing for a small child, you have to have 2 bucket swings. You can't have a bucket swing and a regular swing in the same bay. So that really created we're excluding one or the other in that space. I'm probably going to run out of time because I know I have a time limit here. This is really challenging being on this side.
Not
We'll
fun.
move to extend time.
Yes,
if you do
okay,
run out of
that's
time.
okay. I love, I'm really happy that we get to have this collaboration with the Kings. They are a great partner with the city, and so many of them even live in the city. So I'm really excited to welcome the space with them. Great points about the shadow casting standalone unit. I do see maybe, and I'm just thinking out loud since you mentioned that, maybe a color game with kids, a little bit like Twister, you're putting your right foot on red or something like that, another way that kids can engage with colors and learning. What else did I want to say? The water fountain has recently been upgraded, but I think only part of it may have been, so I think you have a great suggestion as to, even going the next step. And we did recently upgrade all of the shade structures, all of the benches, trash cans in the park. So this is the last piece that will really highlight what a great park it is. It is a little bit tricky, and you mentioned capacity. There is no specific parking for this park. It's all resident parking on the streets, which has been a challenge recently because they are building the Friendship Campus and there's construction traffic there or construction parking. So I think the neighbors are very welcoming. I mean, we have pickleball there now, and that was a discussion as well. How will that interact with the Friendship Campus? I love the idea of the city logo, possibly history either through a QR code or a sign, or even on that introductory sign that mentions it as a All Abilities Park, and the history of the park and how it's evolved. So thank you all for, I know what you do here on the commission, this is only part of your public service, because I see you all in many different roles, and I just wanted to thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay. Director Orta, what would you like us to do besides receive and file it, or do you have enough for us to just receive and file it?
Yeah, I took notes, so I have all the input for tonight that we'll include with the council discussion, so just the receive and file would be sufficient.
Okay, can I get a motion for that?
I'd love to make a motion to receive and file the report for Franklin Park All Abilities Playground.
And did you want to make a recommendation about, do you want a recommendation from us as part of that? To go forward with it? For the council,
I
or
can
something?
provide all the input that was received this evening, and I'll tell them, I'll make sure the council is aware that this wasn't a formal motion, but this was the input and discussion that was had. And so if you're okay with that, we can take that route. So
Okay.
the receive and file is enough.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive and file. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so it's unanimously received and filed. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that takes care of item L1. Our community development director is here. What we thought we would do is go through and form our subcommittees, and you obviously have some input on at least a couple of them, so we can, I think we probably can actually integrate what you want to say, but I think you'd be providing content for at least a couple of the committees. So I'll leave that to your discretion if you want to jump in at any point. So let's talk about L2, possible action regarding the current and proposed committees. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 current committees, and are we now decided it's going to be subcommittees? Is that what we're calling them, or? I don't know, but
Yes. In looking at the verbiage, they are designated as subcommittees, so we will address them moving forward as subcommittees. Thank you.
Okay, so we have 6 subcommittees. In the 3298-25 ordinance that Commissioner Langer referred to earlier, there's discussion that we need to actually have some sort of time limit or task limit on these things. And I'm going to actually recommend that we look at our commission calendar year, our fiscal year. So I would suggest we take it either to September 30th or, well, we're going to be doing everything again on our October meeting. So just go to September 30th. Some of these will actually roll over year after year, but that's my recommendation. The other thing that I noticed on this and reading through these verbiages on 3305, they discuss the minor alterations subcommittee. And that one, it says that the chair shall appoint the staff liaison and 2 members of the commission, one of which shall be a professional from the field of architecture if such professional sits on the commission. That puts you in a spot where you may not want to be. And I would think that we may want to go back to, have it go back to the council and say, change it to the staff liaison or designee, so that they're at least, if our community development director wants to be on the minor alterations to make it more efficient, that would be great. But we have to do what the ordinance says. So at least at this point in time, I think it says that. So in order to be able to appoint this, do we have anybody on this commission who has some experience in the field of architecture?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not an architect, but yes.
It doesn't say you have to be an architect.
Okay. Yes.
And is this the minor alteration subcommittee something you are interested in?
Yes, I'm on that commission currently.
Yeah, we're going to reconstruct everything at this point.
Okay,
So,
well, just some background. I was on it. And,
okay. And is there anybody else on this commission that wants to serve on the minor alteration subcommittee?
I would like to continue serving on the minor alteration subcommittee.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so that makes it real easy. Then we'll have a minor alteration subcommittee consisting of Commissioners Lang and Galassi, and then we can move on. We also have the Facilities Users Committee, which right now consists of Commissioners Yusufi, McCauley, and Lang. And I'm going to get back to that after I try to get this organized as part of what the ordinance says now. We have the Volunteer Acknowledgement Program Committee. Oh, before you go on, I believe you said, Commissioner Lang, you thought it was important to continue on with the Facilities User Committee?
yes.
Okay. Volunteer Acknowledgement Program Committee, that's Commissioners Rowe and Caldwell. Do you believe that's something we need to continue on for another year?
We have budget and we have hardware, so yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Bringing History to Community, that covers a lot of the historical stuff, so I'm going to say yes. Franklin Park Playground Committee. Is there still work to be done at this point for you guys? Do you want to continue it on?
I don't know if there's work still to be done.
I think we've made our recommendations this evening, and we voted to receive and file unless something comes back to us. Something may come back to us if the council determines that they want to change an element. So I would just continue that until the council has voted on that particular project.
Okay, and the last one we have is the Alta Vista Park Pickleball Committee. Do you want that one continued?
Yes, it needs to.
Okay, great. So I think it's page 77 of the materials, which is ordinance 330425. And one of the things that the council tried to corral everybody in, and ours was a mishmash of 4 different commissions, is they actually spelled out in a way that actually assists us in forming committees. But what I want to point out in 2-9.1503 is the wording, the key action words that they have there. And if you look at subsection A, and again, this is page 77 of the materials.
What ordinance number?
330425. It's page 2 of that. Your pages aren't numbered.
And I printed it out differently.
Okay.
What page you said?
It's page 2 of the ordinance amending sections.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so this is the part I want to at least focus on, because when we make a committee, this is going to be consistent with it. Under historical resources and amenities, I want you to notice that the word recommend is the extent of the scope of what we end up doing. So we can recommend it to ourselves, we can recommend it to the community services, we can recommend it to the council. So when we form one of these committees, that's the goal, is to recommend. Preservation, we have a couple things in here where it says conduct public hearings and review and render decisions. But for the most part, again, it's review and recommend, and it actually has specific stuff on that. Number 4 on that, B4, and I'm going to ask the community development director. I'm not clear on it. It says adopt prescriptive standards to be used by the commission. Is that something that you guys tell us? Is that something by statute?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I don't know if this is new language that's added or carryover previously from the prior ordinance.
Okay. That one just seemed unusual given the fact that we can't direct you guys to do anything. And we may not be in agreement with the standards if we adopt our own.
Yes, and also adopting standards or code amendments would be like a legislative act that would come from the council typically. So, yeah, thanks for pointing that out, and I can look into the background on that and get back to this commission.
Okay. And you just switch to the next page where it says 6, review and make recommendations on preservation documents. And I think we have materials from Commissioner Galassi with regards to that part of it. Recommend to the city council a program of incentives for preservation of historic resources. Again, this is one that I think the community development department does need to be involved with, and I think we can come up with ideas and then make the recommendations to you guys, but ultimately it's your guys' duty to figure out if this is a viable recommendation or not.
Yeah, I would say that's correct, and this is consistent with the next item, the following item that we're going to discuss, which is going to be exploring ways to accomplish this.
The funding, yeah, I put a big question mark next to it. I know there's tax incentives that are out there. I don't know if we participate in any of them, but that's one that I have a question, if you can get clarification so that we at least know what scope of what we're doing. Number 9 is review and comment on proposed modifications and regulations regarding land use, housing, and redevelopment. That's a passive thing. I don't know if that's duplicate of what the planning department or the planning commission's doing, but it's one that I think we need some clarification on. Recommend consultants and studies on number 10. I'm not sure we are the ones that really need to look at that, but it's there, so.
Well, do you think maybe it has to do with recommend a study, like a updated study on, or the survey, for instance?
It could, but,
Or the preservation plan?
well, yeah, I guess that's fine, because I think ultimately we're going to have a committee that deals with that and make recommendations. But again, our recommendation's only going to go to the community development on that and to the city council if we decide that. Number 11, cooperate with other local, county, state, and federal government. Again, that seems like it's within your wheelhouse, and obviously we have a duty to cooperate anyway with them, but I think it's your direction on it.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
So as I understand it, the city is required to have a preservation commission, and I'm wondering if these items come from that requirement, right? Isn't the city supposed to have, like, required to have a preservation commission?
As a certified local government, we are. So some of these duties may have been derived from that, and it could have been something that the State Office of Historic Preservation had recommended at the time. I would need to look into the background on some of these. It seems like the way it's established here, it envisions the commission having an active role with some of the projects and with some of the duties in terms of promoting and maintaining the program.
Okay.
And number 12 just seems contradictory. We're not allowed to represent to the outside world about certain things, and it seems that if we're responding and providing written responses, I'm not sure that I think we're overstepping our bound, but is that something that if you said, hey, you guys can respond to it, that would be fine? Or I don't know. I have the most trouble with this whole section.
Yeah, and I appreciate you pointing that out. I will take a closer look at this, and it's possible that this was just kind of pulled in and carried over from what was there previously and wasn't looked at that closely with this update. I think there's always, we could take a closer look at it and bring it back to the council and have it crafted in a way it's more representative of the duties of this commission.
And I believe you guys are going to be coming up anyway pretty soon on policy, so.
Yes, so that would be a good opportunity to bring this up as well, so.
And then we have the rec and park duties, but again, it's advisor to the city council, review and provide recommendations to the city council, provide recommendations to the development of recreation, which I think you brought up earlier. So we're in a recommending mode in that one. And then for library, okay, where is that page?
Oh, here.
So yeah, so it's actually, I'm saying this as a former library commissioner, that department seems to run itself very efficiently and has its funding sources, but the budget and some ideas is something that if you want our input, we can either do it during your library report or when we come time to budget time around. Okay, so knowing that this is all there, facilities users, let's start with that one. Commissioners Yusufi, McCauley, and Lang. Do you guys want to continue on with that?
Yes.
Okay.
And Commissioner McCauley, that was his suggestion, so obviously I can't speak for him, but that's.
Well, he can always come off if he wants to.
Okay.
We'll go forward with that recommendation. Do you see some specific lanes that are in the new powers and duties section that we can tie that facilities users to?
Well, recommendations. So It's reviewing and it's recommendations,
Is it-
and advising.
Okay, so which, is it A something, B something, C something?
Oh, it's
And it can be more than one. I just want to, since we're going to be putting
do you
in,
want me to put them in? Okay, so I can tell you what the commission does, is the subcommission. Do you want?
Sure, go ahead.
Or committee. So basically, so youth sports use not only city fields, but they use school district fields as well. And so the facility users subcommittee acts as sort of liaison, go-between space between the city parks staff and the school district staff and the youth leagues, so AYSO and Redondo Sunset. And so we all get together and everyone discusses what's working, what's not working, and they come up with solutions. And it's seems to be pretty beneficial for everyone.
so it would be everything in C1, 2, and 3.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, perfect. Volunteer Acknowledgement and Program Committee. Commissioner Rowe Caldwell, do you want to explain what it is and how we can tie it to one of our lanes that we have there? Because I understand that at one point, one of the commissions had a problem with proposing a volunteer thing. So if we can tie it into a specific lane, that would be great. It would add to that.
Quite honestly, I don't know the history of it. I would say that it brings great value to the city. I would say that the evaluation process and the idea of community members being able to nominate people and have them considered so we can encourage people to continue to do great things in the city, I think bring great value. So I would need to rely on somebody else as far as the history of it. I just loved the concept.
Okay.
So that committee, subcommission was started by a previous Parks and Recs commissioner, and he has, departed after his service, and we took it over from him. So it's been very beneficial. We've got a couple of applications in right now for a couple of awards. I'll get that over to Ed. So, we're active. It's good.
So
we're just trying to reach out to the community and finding volunteers who are working in Recs and Parks areas that have gone above and beyond the call of duty, and we recognize them with a couple of simple awards.
So that would be more or less a subset of C3, which you're trying to stimulate interest in the recreation program and collaborate with people.
I would actually say it sounds like it's tied into C1, but if I can just make a point about the Volunteer Acknowledgement Committee, Commissioner Rowe, do you think it would be better to expand the purview of that to every area of this commission now, instead of just like people that are involved with Parks and Rec? If there's any volunteers, particularly with like preservation or library, do you think that might be beneficial?
We actually had applications from such people who were volunteers in other areas, and the city steered us back into Recs and Parks. So that's beyond my.
But was that under any of the other areas of this consolidated commission? Or was that just a generalized volunteer kind of acknowledgement? Because I think it might be beneficial, and this is, again, I know you've been on this commission for, it feels like a number of years now, but, maybe we want to expand it to people that, have volunteered to like preservation within the city. And I know there's a lot of volunteers that are really big into that.
That was my desire, to have it opened up, and
we're discussing it, so
I know, I was, but that was probably before we actually formed this commission. That was a year and a half ago when this took place, and I think we should open it up to all volunteers.
Okay,
for sure. So thank you for the suggestion. That's an obvious one I should have been on top of. Thank you.
I think it's a good one. Do we need to present that to the council for clarification, since it sounds like they were the ones who told you no, or do you, because we can make a recommendation that it include the other things, and would that be something you would take to the city manager? Would that
Right.
be something we want to do it as a council? Do we want to agendize it as part of a discussion to expand it? I mean, it sounds like we're going to have this committee anyway, so.
Right. I think,
I like Commissioner Yussefai's suggestion.
no, I mean, I think that's very encouraging. I think I'd lean a little more direction on the purview. And, but if tonight, for tonight's sake, you want to continue as is and we'll revisit the scope, we can do that once I get a little bit more direction and feedback. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so is that something you guys want to explore?
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
Do you want to be on this committee too?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example real quick. We actually had a couple of volunteers from the library that I assume were
Candidates? That were candidates?
well, candidates, right. They were, someone had recommended them. We put it together, and then at the end, I realized, oh, okay, that's not part of Recs and Parks, that's actually library, so. Which is fine. We pulled it back to Recs and Parks, but now that we've all come together.
Can't tell the library director you don't want to acknowledge volunteers.
He was so upset.
I was.
Weren't you the initial liaison for this topic with the Parks and Recs people? They took it from community service and gave it to you guys?
I believe so. I'm trying, I think I might have buried that back in the back, but you're absolutely right. Talk about preservation. I think I'm bringing it back right now. But I want to say that I think to your point regarding tying it into the mission, the goals set forth in the code, when you look back at the statement on the library, I think it's easier to tie in with recreation, but I would certainly don't want to speak out of turn. I'd like to get a little bit more information on it. So I think the path of least resistance is probably continue as is, but explore that wonderful idea of expanding it if possible. But I definitely want to get a little bit more direction and see if it's feasible.
So one of the things that I will be talking about ultimately when we get to the referrals to staff, and I raised it at the last meeting, there are certain things that we do that doesn't need a staff input from, at least initially. So it can be a commissioner report as opposed to a staff report. So if they vote to agendize that topic, the problem I have with agendizing it is we can't talk about the substance of the topic until the staff decides to bring it back, and sometimes that's month. But if we say we're agendizing it and limit discussions, and just have at least the people who have the thought to come forward, and then the staff can react to what the initial discussion is, I think that would work. I don't know where you are on that.
I do, and I completely agree with you. It's this kind of back and forth. Certainly when possible, staff want to support commissioners in their endeavors, but sometimes there's only so much they can provide, and certainly commissioners can have these discussions on one of these subcommittees and bring it back for further review. What I would recommend is that we do designate a department and liaison as, even in the beginning, as a potential contact moving forward, even if they don't have to be present at that discussion. It just kind of helps guide the process through. That's my thought on it.
Well, that's you. So you're the one who decides who to bring in, because you're our liaison ultimately.
Right.
So I wouldn't have a problem agendizing the topic without having staff input until we can actually flush out the discussion.
I would say at the very least, though, even if we don't identify a staff person, we definitely specify a department, because some of the things might overlap into other departments. We want to make sure that we know where to park that. And when we bring it back, then we know it's still under that departmental purview. Does that make sense?
We have 3 departments
yes,
that this goes to. So, okay, well, I'll leave it to you guys if you want to when we get to the referrals to staff if you want to do it, but it sounds like we're going to have this committee anyway. Okay. The Bringing History to Community Committee, it's all falls in on the historical part A. It also falls in some of part on the part B with regards to the markers and historical districts for that. And so I think we need to go forward. Let me just bring this use of 5-1. Does anybody else? So it's myself, Commissioner Lang, and Commissioner McCauley. Did you want to continue on? I know we were bringing you in to be the person who reviews all the signage and stuff, but somehow I know that you got drafted into this. So well, I don't know what you want as far as your role goes.
You know, we haven't really moved forward with any of the signage work at this point, have we?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
We've got some proposals out there, but you've.
Okay, I haven't done any work on it, so I'm happy to be on it until I see what the work is.
Well, you've
I'll
actually
let you
done the
know.
Riviera Park signage, which is kind of like this anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody else want to be on it? Okay, great. Alta Vista Pickleball Committee, why don't you explain that one? And maybe you can get some people to help you with that.
Sure. So, you know, part of our charge is obviously to assist in the development of recreation for the city. And since pickleball at Alta Vista is a new program that's going to be happening there, we recognize, you know, as a pickleball player myself, and having played in many different facilities in other cities, we recognize that in order to roll out a successful program, we need to observe best practices as far as signage, as far as time of play. You know, pickleball has a particular culture. We have open play. He's smiling over there. He knows what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
To assist in the determination of the pricing for reservations versus the open play. There are several models that we can look at, whether we go with Manhattan Beach's model, which they pay, I think, a $20 fee per month to be able to participate in open play, or as in El Segundo, you pay every time that you go. So all of that, you know, required collection of a lot of information, and to be able to analyze all that information. And so the committee is assisting Director Orta in doing all of that. As a matter of fact, I sent to her a number of photographs that were sent to me from Santa Monica and the city of Carson regarding their signage, their pickleball signage. So we're, you know, helping in that regard. So the pickleball subcommittee is important at this time to be able to roll out a successful program.
Does anybody want to be on that besides Commissioner Gillespie?
No, I can't, but.
Okay. We can
on too
always
many
add to it,
already.
and
But
Commissioner
I
McCauley's
appreciate,
not
I
here.
think it's important. I appreciate your effort on the.
Okay, so I think we're all in agreement on the 6 committees that we have and the staffing. So can I get it? And then I'm going to go talk about some proposed committees since we've discussed it before. And also Commissioner Caldwell, I want to bank on your experience in preservation. I think it's what, your 10th year doing it now. And I want to at least have,
Sure.
what?
Do we want to talk about timeline at this point when you make a motion to establish them, or do you want to discuss that at a different time?
I was going to include in there that it goes through September 30th.
Right, and then
we'll have to renew it again and evaluate it. Because I may not be on this commission next year, and I think Commissioner Rowe and Gillespie are also, they're not termed out, but they may or may not want to renew, so.
And then I know we have the names, but we do what, and we discussed it briefly, but I think just so that we're on the topic of these, do we want to, identify a specific goal? We talked about a lot of stuff, but, clear and transparent, meaning so when someone looks at some of these, they know specifically, if you're a member of the general public that's not familiar with the commission and the history, then they know exactly what does facility mean? Does it mean drinking fountains? Does it mean the playground? I would think a little bit more concise clarification on that would be helpful. And then I think I totally support the September goal date.
Okay, my suggestion on the goals is once we vote in these committees and the people that are going to be staffing it, that we agree that each committee will come to the next meeting with a goal of what they want to accomplish. And hopefully that will be in writing so that the public can see it and we have something in our records that supports it. Does that meet your needs?
Sounds good.
Okay, so is all of you are on different committees. Is that something that's doable for you guys to come up with goals for your committee for the year? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to have these 6 committees be formed and staffed with the names that we have on there, with the exception of the volunteer acknowledgement where we're adding Commissioner Yusufi to that. And it will go through September 30th of 2026. And there's a separate, and once we do that, then I'll do a separate motion to come back next week. And then I want to go through other committees. Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comments.
Okay, all those in favor of these 6 committees, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, great. So the next step is to have an agreement. It can be, you wanted the express motion that these committees come back with a report about what their goals are for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could think it'd just be an agreement at this point. We're all under the understanding that we come back with a goal.
Okay.
That makes sense, so we can put that on the agenda for next, shouldn't say we put that topic on the agenda, but the next time that we bring the...
We're going to have it again next month anyway. So.
Right, so we can discuss it then, but I think preliminary goals by then, do you think that that's doable for these subcommittees?
Do you guys think it's all doable? Do you want it as a formal motion, or do you want it just as an understanding that you guys will present it?
I think we have an understanding that we can provide that.
Great. And then I'm going to turn this part over to Commissioner Galassi, who went and thought about how to include the preservation stuff. And this also may dovetail into L3, actually. And then I want to talk about a couple other committees. So why don't you start, and then we can talk about the other stuff.
Yeah, so this is, if you look actually under the L4, you'll find the Preservation Plan Subcommittee rationale that I prepared for this evening. And, you know, I put some thought into some work that I thought was doable, attainable in a modest amount of time, and that needs to be addressed now, because the preservation plan, as I state in this potential committee report, there are a number of issues that haven't been addressed. And so I've outlined them here. For example, to recommend a plan to address community outreach and information of the preservation program. I included some ideas for what those could be.
Suggest wording for a mailing to properties listed on the current survey of resources to inform them that their property is listed on the survey. Because as we've noted, sometimes we have people come to our commission and they have no idea that their property is even listed on this. So we have some work to do in that respect. To review the historic register of the landmark properties and suggest wording for a mailing to the designated landmarks. We can thank them for having designated their property. And if they haven't taken advantage of the Mills Act contract, to be able to do that as well and give them information on how to apply. But sometimes, the information is available on the city website, but folks don't know to go and get it. So I think that the outreach needs to happen directly to these people. Suggest wording for a periodic mailing to the folks who do have a Mills Act contract, because they should feel pride and ownership, to continue to feel pride and ownership of a designated property, and to have gone through that process, because they are making a commitment, and we appreciate that commitment. To recommend a community building event for landmark and/or Mills Act contract property owners, whatever that could be. But maybe there's an opportunity to get all of these folks together and have a little community building event, even if it's just a coffee, in which folks can talk about their properties, and we can have some information on history. To recommend a community building, I said that one already, sorry. To suggest and provide design ideas for a brick that could be embedded in the sidewalk to identify properties with historic designation. So rather than having a sign on the property itself, to embed it into the sidewalk, gives the opportunity for people walking by to acknowledge the fact that this is something significant. It's a significant property. And of course, to develop the funding mechanism for the brick if that idea gets some traction. And to recommend to the council the rationale for a full review and update of the preservation plan. Because the preservation plan was drafted many, many years ago, some items may be obsolete at this point or need further detail or clarification. So I think we could be working on that. So this is just some work that I thought was important for subcommittee or a couple of subcommittees as you see fit to undertake.
So this is actually ties into what Director Weiner wanted to present to us with regards to that. Most of this, if not all of it, is something that the Community Development Department has to say that they're interested in us helping out. Designing brochures, for example, this 1993, it may need to be updated. You had talked to me about the website and the links on it. That's something they have to do. So again, it ties in perfectly with Director Weiner being here, but it's really a question of what help do you want us to do? If it does go to committee, it won't be, something that we present to the council or anything. It's going to be going, all the recommendations are consistent with the ordinance are going to go to your department or wherever you want in it. I will note that you guys in October brought on board John Chiampa as a resource consultant. And if you looked at his resume from the October 7th City Council meeting, he's got a tremendous amount of background with regards to historical preservation, manage certain things. I don't know if that's how you're planning on using him. We can't tell you how to use him. We can't talk to him either because they're paying money for that directly. But we do have a good resource now if you want to use them. So give us your thoughts about, here's some of the things that we think we can help you with and what you would, if any of these you would like us to help with.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And this probably ties into the next item. We're going to discuss forming a subcommittee for the purposes of doing outreach and marketing. Oh, did we move on to the next item, Dana?
I do want to reserve that we need to do something back in L2 for another committee, but we have to vote on whatever you say. So
okay,
we can move on, but
well, how about we wrap up this
of,
one, that we can get into historic preservation once we get to L3, and we can go over this list and what I had in mind.
Okay. Well, they're all tied together, and when we got our first agenda, it was all lumped together, so I thought it was going to be part of it, and it really is part of it. So, because one of the things we used to have in preservation is an education committee that would go out in the public and do stuff. So it kind of ties in to what's been proposed, but again, it's your department, so we want to hear your views on it. So I don't have a problem moving on to L3 as long as we come back to L2 once we're done with your presentation.
Okay. Yeah, and it's not a formal presentation tonight. It's really just starting the conversation about what the outreach and the education of our program would look like. I envisioned this commission appointing a subcommittee to assist with that. I know at the last meeting I attended, the commission expressed the interest in doing some of the work and being kind of an aid to staff with these efforts. I think that's a good idea. And I think that would be an enjoyable process to work with you guys on that. Some of the ideas I had in mind for the outreach and the education are updating the website, modernizing that, making it more user-friendly, doing a brochure. I think mailings is a good idea. Maybe even an ad in the newspaper or somehow advertise it that, hey, you know, this is the value of being historic, and you can obtain a Mills Act contract and really broadcast what the possibilities are. I think part of that outreach, we also have to let prospective historic property owners know like what the process would be once they are historic, what it means, demonstrate that there is some flexibility in how we treat those properties, and we could even post like examples of projects that have gone through that were substantial, just to show that, yeah, you can still modify your residence or your property even if it is historic. So things along those lines, those are just some ideas. I'm really open to what ideas this group may have. I know there's kind of a broader policy discussion that's going to be had on historic preservation, and that's going in either December or January. I need to check with the council, but go into the council on one of those dates. So I will be able to come back to the commission and have clear direction on that. I think the preservation plan is a bit outdated and it's not internally consistent. Even the municipal code, the ordinance itself has some conflicts with itself a bit. So I do think those things need to be addressed. I think, you know, based on the council's direction, having this commission provide policy direction or recommendations on that would be helpful. And based on the list of duties, it seems like it's clearly one of the duties that is within your purview. So those are some thoughts. I would say at this point, I know we could get really broad and just tackle the whole program. I would prefer to keep it focused, and I think doing the outreach and the education on what we have, because regardless of what policy decisions are made about the eligibility list and other things, the city is still going to continue to have this historic preservation program, and it's still going to have this voluntary component that relies on property owners that volunteer to make their properties put their properties on the list. And the city wants to continue encouraging that and promoting it. And since I've been here, which has been about a year and a half, I've actually seen several properties come through that been landmarked and have obtained the Mills Act agreements. I know that it's something that property owners are willing to do. And I think especially if we could do the outreach, we would even get a higher number of applications coming in. So those are my general thoughts, and that was the thought behind the subcommittee, and I'd work directly with the subcommittee on that, and I think it would be fun kind of working on these efforts of outreach. And that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay. So what I think I can synthesize from the discussion is that you're open for us to provide some input for outreach, but we were not going to be actually doing the outreach unless you guys want us to, like, for example, the community building event, or writing a letter.
I would envision this committee doing that, like doing some of the work, assisting staff. We're a bit short-staffed right now. We did bring on that contract planner who's helping with some things, but I did have him in mind to assist with historic preservation matters. But I think it would be helpful if this committee could maybe provide some guidance on like the layout of the website, maybe even take on the brochure if anyone has experience with that. Write the letter. Another idea is I mentioned doing something with the newspaper. Maybe we could do some kind of newsletter or something that like highlights a property and gives some of the history and the background on it. One of our landmark properties, like I know at the last meeting, the commission and the chair in particular had done like independent research, and I think that could be useful. And with the property owner's permission, I think it would be good to spotlight some of these properties and give them some presence in the community. So those are some ideas, but I do envision having the subcommittee assisting with those write-ups and doing some of the work and being kind of an extension of staff on this effort.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're okay with us having an outreach committee that would work with your department or you or whoever you want to be involved with the process?
Yes.
Okay. And I also think that we probably want, and that would include websites, I think, and newsletters, and we'd want a recognition. One of the things that when we do get to the land use element, and by the way, I did include in the section with regards to blue folders, the section 10.-4-102, which is a purpose and intent, which ties in with outreach, and then the historical preservation is part of the land use element of the general plan, and there are some sections in there. So I wanted you to be focused, so we'd have an outreach. I think we need a recognition, again, component, trying to figure out what ways we can promote people to want to, because they can get their brown sign that says this is a historic district, or they can get the bricks in the ground. We've already got an estimate how much it's going to cost to do the brick, and now we got to come up with a funding mechanism for it. And then, no, I think those are two. Do you have any other ones that you think? Because the outreach is pretty broad.
Yeah, no. I was going to suggest that we work together to create those silos, and then decide, how we want to divvy up that work.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
You know what I'm saying? Rather than like decide something here, like to get together and have a meeting and, and flush out all of these things and then put them into the silos.
Yeah, so I agree with that. And this is providing some examples, not that we're going to decide on exactly what the strategy would be at this meeting, but I think there's a lot of good options out there that we can pursue. And the subcommittee could, once it's formed, meet about this, kind of develop a work plan, share it with the rest of the commission, and then move forward with it.
Okay, we can come back with the goals next month if you want to.
That's a good idea.
So and there's another component too, which you were the one who brought up when I met with you about whether we have a voluntary program or a mandatory program. And the more I thought about it, we really have a voluntary program and a contractual program. So those are the two components. Everything's voluntary, including being on the historic resource list. There are procedures to get on and get off, but I would think that one of the things that we can contribute to, and I know Commissioner Caldwell's indicated in the past, that he walks neighborhoods looking at homes and things like that. We have a real estate professional on our commission, is to work with you to come up with a procedure we can nominate. So you don't have to do the survey to do everything. We can walk around and come up with a list of properties that we think should be nominated, do the research with regards to, does this qualify as an, I don't know what the difference between an A or B or C on it. Obviously, I don't have the expertise on it, but we could start presenting to you some different possibilities and then have a process where we have a public meeting where we're saying we're nominating you to be on the list. So it's clear to the people that that these properties are going to go on that inventory list, and they can opt out at that point in time. They always have the ability to opt out later with a more cumbersome procedure that we have now. But would that be of assistance to you rather than spending $90,000 coming up with, you know, a survey or whatever, how much it costs?
It will be at the right time. I think it's important to do the professional survey because in terms of CEQA and in terms of having the findings to support the property being historic, it's important to have the professional analysis. I think this commission could assist with that. And once we undertake that project, I could see forming a committee to assist and help advise on that, the generation of the survey. We're just not quite there yet in terms of presenting this to the council, just the big picture on historic preservation. I know in your list you mentioned like mailing the property owners are on the eligibility list. I really want to wait to see kind of what the status of that eligibility list is. And we talked about last time that there's some legal concerns surrounding it. So we are going to unpack all that and have clear direction. And I think there'll be value in either having this committee kind of pivot and work on that as well, along with the outreach, or just form a separate committee to assist with the scope of creating this new survey and some of the procedures and like procedural matters. So I guess that said, I think we could probably make the most traction if we focus on the outreach and the education part of it and really promoting the program at the moment. And I think the efforts that you mentioned will be beneficial, but I think that will be a few months down the road here. And also once we have a little more bandwidth to take on, you know, the entirety of the historic program and kind of recontemplating what the procedures are, and that could get somewhat involved.
Okay, the only concern I have, I don't know if you were in the room when I mentioned it, the ordinance says that you're either on the historic list or the national list, or if you're not on the historic list, that the community director, when something's offered to be destroyed and it's eligible age-wise, you may actually have to make a determination to bring it back to us.
Yeah, it's a little ambiguous. I pulled that section up because when you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, and it says like in concurrence with like CEQA too, so I'm not sure. I would need to take a closer look at that, maybe even with legal, and try to understand what the intent behind that is, because it's pretty broad. Under CEQA, something's considered historic if it is eligible for the national or state register, so maybe that's implying that the director would have to make that determination, you know, based on evidence. And so that I need to evaluate that a little more. I think that's an example of some of the ambiguities in our code currently that need to be addressed and clarified.
Okay.
And including with the eligibility list, I think there's, in my mind, there's still some questions about the process there. Not the land, it's clear if you're landmarked, you've applied for it, there's a process for it. The eligibility list, we have this somewhat outdated list that was generated. And then it seems to, at least in my opinion, my view of it, it takes a property from that list and puts it right in the category of being historic and needing a certificate of appropriateness if you want to modify or demo it. So that's not really a voluntary thing. If the city listed it, maybe without the property owner being aware, and then we're treating it as it's historic. So that's, just want to take a closer look at that and see how we can construct that to be a little more, I guess, legally defensible and also consistent with the intent and purpose of the ordinance itself.
Is there best practices for that? Like, what do other cities do? Do they do the same thing, go around and do what do they call it, a drive-by survey or whatever? Or do they?
They do, yeah, that's something they do in their ordinance. The city has if it's codified, has the ability to deem those properties historic. And then it'd be like a mandatory and imposed historic protection on the property. Our ordinance is somewhat in between in that it has language about it being voluntary and protecting property rights, but then it also kind of has this process where it takes it through that path. So that's really the policy consideration for the city council. And then even aside from that, putting our municipal code aside, there are CEQA protections for these historic properties, which are under California law. And that needs to be addressed as well and taken into consideration because under CEQA, it's really irrespective of our ordinance. That's state law.
And I think it's also, the word in our ordinance is potential. And I think it's voluntary because all it is an inventory list. But again, if you give the proper notices before they get on the list so they can opt out before they get on the list, I think it makes it, again, more voluntary. But that's a discussion when we get to the land use elements. And hopefully you'll include us in the discussion that you're going to present to the council so that we can at least chime in on certain aspects of it. So from what I gathered, we probably need to set up an outreach preservation group. Does anybody want to serve on that?
I'm happy to volunteer.
Yeah, I was hoping you would say that because you've got the most experience. Anybody else? Did you want?
I would like to also.
Okay.
Yeah, just marketing I've done that for years, and real estate, so yeah.
Did you want to be on that?
Yes, I would like to be on that.
Okay. Did you want Commissioner Yosifai?
No, thank you.
Okay, so I guess we have our three on that. I think we need a recognition committee, and those are going to be recommendations to the community development department, and they can decide if they like it or not. And I'm willing to serve on that. Anybody else? Okay, put your committee of one. So all those in, is there a second to have those two committees with that staffing?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay, before we vote, do you want to add anything at this point? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to work with the group. I'll reach out following this meeting. We'll schedule a follow-up meeting and get working on it, and
great.
Looking forward to it.
And we'll come up with goals for the next meeting as well. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay. I think we need two more committees, and one of them, and I've talked with Commissioner Lang briefly about it, but I think we have an amazing set of trees in the community, and we need to have some sort of canopy committee on it, and they can define their own goals on it. Is that something you think is worthy?
So when you say a canopy committee,
I was thinking initially about some of our trees are so unique that you could make them a landmark. Some of them are coming up with tours for kids to see all the different trees. Some are great for climbing. Mm-hmm. Some are, you just look at it and it's like, why are there palm trees in Redondo Beach? So you can kind of develop stories around, so you have a historic component. I've been taking pictures of all the tree houses that we have in Redondo Beach. So there's a whole bunch of different things tied in with the trees that tie in with both the history and the parks and recs kind of thing, even though they're on private property. So that's something you would be interested in having us do?
So I'm really interested in lots of topics around trees, and I'm currently working with a group called Citizens for Redondo Beach Trees, and we're working on just getting more trees in the ground at the city level. And so there's a lot of interfacing with some city officials and whatnot. And so that's kind of my main focus right now, is getting that off the ground. And I would love to revisit this idea maybe in a few months.
Okay, because you can always have them come in here and fill the seats in the audience and.
Yeah, they will. We're in the beginning stages, the first couple months of this project. So when it's up and running a little bit more, I would love to take this on.
Okay, and then the last committee I think we need is a budget letter committee. So when the city manager comes here, we already know what we think should be the priorities. And it's as I said before, and when we were in history, we just made it a wish list. And it turned out to be a year that they were flush with money. So we got most of the wish list. With the library, the Friends are really wonderful, but there are some things that we support and we can write, and it's something that you can work with the individual liaisons in the different departments. If this community development wanted us to take a position on getting more staffing, we would be able to write a letter to the council and say, hey, we think this is an important part of our city. So it's kind of like a letter thing, but it's more tied into the money aspect of it. And your thoughts?
No, I think that's a good idea. You can get ahead of the ball, start kind of categorizing these topics, meeting with various departmental liaisons, and they could identify things that are important when it comes around budget time. There are several topics that are brought up over the last several meetings that could fall under the umbrella. The only thing I think that would be an important committee. The only thing I would caution you all about is I don't have a lot of time on my hands, and I know you're all busy, but if you were willing to make that commitment, meet with staff, I think in concept it's a good idea to have a committee. Then you can kind of track those things, prioritize, and then write meaningful, substantive letters to council when appropriate.
Commissioner Youssef, I thought about you and putting this all together.
I have a couple questions. So I guess my thing is like, I do think that we should probably have more direct conversations around budget time, even though I think the city managers come in, spoken to us previously about like, don't get your hopes up with stuff. Like, and I think we all kind of understand that. My only thing is when you're talking about like numeric numbers of budgeting, I just want to know specifically what the expectation with budgeting is, because like I professionally do a lot of this stuff too, and allocating funding sources within a general fund allocation or like that's very complicated. So I just want to know, like, are we just saying, hey, we want to like get some equipment, we think it'll be a couple $100,000 to that level, or are we talking about, hey, I see money within the budget, this is how we can allocate it? Because that level of stuff is very complicated. So I just want to temper the expectation with that.
So it is more or less a wish list kind of thing.
Okay.
The CIP process, which percolates into the May budget, by the time the city manager comes here, most of that stuff is already kind of set in stone, and there's a little bit of variance in it. But we had Franklin Park today, for example, that somebody had to come up with the idea, let's do the playground on it. And it would have been nice to be part of the group that started the process and say, hey, we see there's a need here, let's go fill it. Or if you wanted to, have as part of the budget a tree planting program, we would be able to jump in early in the process in doing it. When we did the Path of History markers, that started as a CIP project. And that was a need that we saw, so we ended up saying, okay, let's do it. We have a park that's going on. We had somebody today was talking about Bill Brand's Grand Park. That's something that we could say in the budget, this is what we would recommend. And all it is a recommendation.
Sure. So I agree with the concept of that, right? Like if we have a wish list, we should directly articulate those points directly into the budget process. That part of it is, I completely agree with. I guess my concern is where the fiscal amount, like that portion of it, like even the park project, like typically fiscal policy within municipalities, they have to solicit 3 bids. So that's a bidding process now. Then you got to compare the amount of funding sources you have to, typically cities get the lowest bidder. These guys can probably tell you that, but I just want to know like the specifics of that element. I mean, again, if it's to propose something or project something, I think we can do that generally. However, I think like, I just want to know the level of specificity with it. Because like when I hear budgeting, I'm talking about like to a dollar amount. If we want to propose a wish list and give them what we think dollar amount is, that's a little bit different than, hey, I think we can build it if you allocate this much from general fund allocations to a special fund. It's very complicated at that level.
Well, like the brick project, I already got an estimate from the city manager about how much it would cost. And then it's just 2 things and I think I'd learned this one from you. If it's not in the CIP budget or not on the strategic plan, it doesn't get looked at for the next year. So it'd be getting some of the things that we identify as we think are priorities, and this would be a commission as a whole, so it wouldn't go to the council without the input. But this would have, there are some, the library was a great example where we saw the need and we were babysitting, acting as an advocate to the council saying, we think this is important.
I completely agree with that portion. I'm set on that. Like I think we need to articulate our wish list during budget time. I think the city manager had come into a meeting preceding the budget, the adoption of the budget, and asked as much. I think he had mentioned that he was rounding the different commissions in general to get input on budgetary items. I remember that specifically.
Yeah.
I guess my only thing is that when it comes to like, as a part of that wish list, are we trying to articulate what we think the amount of projects and wish list items are?
No, because we have no say on the overall process.
So if that's
at the end of the day, it's like what the council wants, what the city manager.
100%. But I don't know, when I hear the word budget and trying to do that, I just want to make sure that we're interpreting the same thing. I do think though we should articulate a wish list. Because and again, I think we've discussed this before at previous meetings, we're going to make a recommendation and the council ultimately is going to make the decision if they have it or not. I think also it's kind of been presented to us crystal clearly that most of the time there's just no money with it. And that's kind of how government works, right? Like it is what it is.
I know 3 or 4 years ago, we actually had this pension bond that all of a sudden there was money coming from all over the place. So
if you want to know about public budget, that's literally what I do professionally. So like I can tell you about that later. But
can I ask a question? Okay, so is what we actually want to accomplish here, do we want to be ready with a list when and sort of be ready beforehand so that, because when the city manager came to speak here, it was almost like they were going over the budget the next day or whatever. Like, and he asked us that Wednesday, and so it definitely felt like we could ask, and it was a really nice courtesy that he came and asked us, but we kind of knew that probably there was a lot of other projects in front of anything that we were going to suggest. So if we're looking for a subcommittee of one individual or a few that maybe kind of just make notes along, the year or 6 months or whatever. And then, a month before the city manager comes through, we put together our list, we write it, we send it. If that's what we're asked, is that what we're looking for? We want something more, someone digging in the actual numbers of the budget.
I think it's more of a wish list kind of thing, like the outreach thing. If they say, hey, we want to publish new brochures, we would advocate for the price of the publication, whatever it is in the budget. It's just basically saying, hey, guys, we're here. We have some thoughts and recommendations for you. And it's kind of like with Parks and Recs before, that you were doing stuff with playgrounds and other things. So, you know, in history, we had a whole bunch of stuff at the museum and Heritage Park. And one of the things I'll talk about a little bit later is benches. So it's just like things that we discuss, and there's nothing keeping the people who are on this committee to come up to us and say, hey, we would like to advocate for this. So it's keeping eyes open for opportunities to, I guess, spend money, but.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I would love if Alta Vista Park got updated play equipment. So that's always in the back of my mind. I mean, I would love to ask for that ahead of time and a new snack shack and all those kinds of things. So I think it's a great idea to write the letter beforehand.
Okay.
And so we're not waiting for him to ask us. But
Are you okay with being on that committee?
I will, but I will volunteer if we want to establish a committee about that. So that was going to be my next point. I agree with Commissioner Lang. I think this sounds like more of a point in time thing. And I just want to ask you, I don't know if this is a point in time kind of ask, if we need a subcommittee for it, as opposed to, we know when budget season is, right? Like everyone knows, like municipal budget, you know, we're going through the financial statement audit right now. Beginning of the year, you're going to start single audit and then your budget season until the fiscal year is adopted July 1. That's like the municipal budget cycle, right? So I don't know if we want to continue the item until early next year when they're starting the budget process and saying, hey, this is our wish list. We want to get it out to them while they're going through the budget, or if we need an ongoing commission for that. That's my only ask with that. Do you think we need to have an ongoing subcommittee?
So one of the things I've noticed in my times on commission is that to get it on the agenda, we need to have a meeting that says we want it on the agenda. And then sometimes it gets on the agenda, sometimes it doesn't. And if you have a standard group with a standard report, then at least you can present the letter that you think needs to go out, and it doesn't take 60 days or 90 days to do it. I think the budget process actually starts in January, because this city actually tries to get it done, I believe, before the end of May. They get it out.
It's codified. Certain cities have it codified in the muni code. They have to adopt a budget by a certain date.
But there's the CIP projects, for example, start in January or even before then. So if we get this in place right now and the goals are set, you may find that we're already into the process where people are starting to percolate ideas up from the different departments. And I think that's part of the process. The departments start off, have this big meeting, they have the strategic plan meeting, and then they
I can talk to you about public budgeting, like you can talk about.
Then you're the perfect person for it.
Oh, God.
Because your knowledge, it took a while for me to understand why when we started seeing it on the agenda, it was too late already. And you need to start with, and get the directors interested in something that we want so that they can present it to their colleagues and the city manager, who is very supportive, I think, of all the stuff that we do anyway. But there's so many different projects in the city.
So again, if that's the case, like a monthly kind of update for this particular subcommittee would be asking commissioners if they have any items they want to include as a budgetary ask.
Yeah, if you would think, if we were asked to, when the city manager stands in front of us, these are the things that we've already discussed and we're ready to present.
Maybe we can give them to him before he even comes to this commission to ask.
And there's also midterm adjustments. Sometimes they find more money and it's like.
Very rarely. And if they're adjusted, they're eaten up pretty quickly. So
yeah, but we did that with the library a couple times where we ended up, writing a midterm letter that came to us rather shortly. But it also, you want the commission to stand behind it. So it's nice to be able to have something on the agenda that you can kind of quickly have it as part of the public record and then goes to the council.
I'll volunteer to do it if that's beneficial.
and you're able to set your goals as well. So if you think about it some more, obviously you're going to be on it. Commissioner Lang, I'm hoping will be on it. And since there's not going to, I don't know, unless somebody else wants to be on it, I can give input if you have questions along the way without breaking the Brown Act stuff. But I think it's something that's going to be useful for this group. We found it useful, at least on the 2 commissions I've been on.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay. I'm making a motion that we have a budget committee that's consisting of Commissioners Yusufi and Lang that goes through September 30th, and they'll come next month with their goals and ideas and thoughts.
Okay.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay. And then the last part on this thing, Mr. Vinke, do you see any committees that you need for library?
Not at this time. We did have a successful committee a little while ago when we had Library Commission on library marketing and raising awareness of the library. I'd like to see us kind of achieve some of those goals first, and I do think that the library could be very supportive of the budgetary process and recommendations. So not at this time, but we would certainly love to keep thinking about it. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that, unless somebody else has a comment, I think we're done with item L2 and L3. And moving on to L4, subcommittee review and project update. I think most of our meeting has been kind of like that, but I'll go through the committees again. Minor alterations, did you have an update?
We do not.
Okay. Facilities user, do you have an update?
We don't, but Commissioner McCauley was going to set a date for the next meeting, and he usually does it in the fall, so.
Okay. Volunteer acknowledgement, do you have an update?
We covered it.
Okay, great. Bringing history, the only thing I want to update for you is that we proposed some language for the Edo Park signs, and the Path of History markers are still online, and the Riviera Village plaque is, I guess, still under consideration by the Community Services Director. Franklin Park Playground, I think we covered that already. And the Alta Vista Pickleball Committee, I think you had something in.
Yeah, I provided a written report, so it's just self-explanatory, nothing new to add to that.
Great. Is there any public comment on L4?
There are no public comments.
Okay. Items from staff.
I do not have any items from staff other than I want to just give a shout out to all the folks that made the ribbon cutting possible. That was a really fantastic event, and really highlighted the library and really allowed us the time to shine. We will get some statistics in our regular report as far as the usage for the express hours at North. We have almost 20 people signed up, and we have regular users, and we hope to expand the system as it grows, but a lot of positive feedback on that. That's all.
Okay, I have a question now.
Yeah.
Have you given everybody on this commission a tour of the library yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I have to say, it's been.
Tisk.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's been bothering me. Now that we're up in the holidays, I'm probably thinking like January. We've got the staff, they've gotten trained on doing the orientation. We were in the process of getting ready to schedule. That ribbon cutting came up and it kind of eclipsed that, but we would love to. We definitely want to do that. And but I think given the holiday season, it'll probably be January. We'll be reaching out as far as the time you're available to come down to the library and get a tour. Thank you.
Thank you. That actually is a really great thing if you get a chance to. It's one of the diamonds in the city, so I think you'll find it worthwhile. Okay, commission member items and future commission agenda topics. I'm going to start with Commissioner Caldwell. Do you have anything?
I have none.
Okay, Commissioner Yusufi?
I only have a question for you, Dana. I know sometimes, I can't remember if we did this with the former Rec and Parks Commission, but I can't remember if it was either a December or January because of cities furloughing for the holidays. Do you anticipate us having any cancellations of the meetings for either January or December? I believe we had, I can't remember if it was this commission, if it was.
No, we did have one.
We did, right? Like, so I don't know if, just for planning purposes, I don't know if you're anticipating any cancellations or anything like that.
Not at this time. We do have the tentative dates scheduled, and we can have a discussion item next meeting.
Okay. Yep, that's it for me.
Okay. Commissioner Lang?
I do not have any.
Commissioner Rowe?
Nothing additional.
Commissioner Galassi?
I just wanted to thank you for the wonderful ribbon cutting. I did attend as not only commissioner, but resident of D4. And we're so proud of you, so proud of our whole library staff. And, you know, we have a great resource here. So well
Thank
done.
you.
Okay, I have a couple items, and I think you're going to have to go back to some of the people who were here that are not here now. So we have public hearings here on like landmark applications and the people who want to revise the stuff. But is it possible if they schedule a public hearing that's going to be coming eventually to us and it's already posted as a public hearing, that we can get the notice and the application at the time it's made available to the public, as opposed to waiting till 3 days before the meeting?
We have made that recommendation. So when Becca and I spoke to community development a few weeks ago, we highlighted the issues that you raised regarding some not necessarily something we need to hold a discussion item on, but recommendations or ideas that you had. So we did bring that up, and I don't want to speak for Mark. I don't see why it wouldn't be possible, but we did raise that.
Okay. I know that we've talked about the Park Ranger Committee before, and that's one of the budget things that seems to slip through each year. So if you can ask Kelly if she can talk about what's going on with the Park Ranger stuff.
Sure.
And that may be one where we can agendize and do our own discussion first, and then say this is what we would like to get information from the community services.
Certainly.
Okay. This one's an update and maybe not. So the Wilderness Park Landmark, which is part of that August meeting, I understood that council has referred it to staff and it's now sitting with community services. So if we can get an update on that, or when it's going to come back to the council for discussion. So there's a Garnett Historical District application that's been pending, and that's how that contracted planner is working on it. But if we can find out when that's coming to when our public hearing is going to be on that. We also recommended that they name a park honoring Joe DeWeziak. We decided we weren't going to hold out which park it was, but we haven't heard anything. And at least according to the ordinance, the city manager should be talking to you about when that's coming up at some point.
Yeah, I remember watching the council meeting where it was referred to staff. I don't know the status.
Okay.
But we can find out.
Okay, and then the Riviera Village language, I know, and I've actually asked the director for community services. the guy keeps on emailing and texting, so they need to give him some communication that at least, I can't tell him to do that, but it would be nice to, the guy's been waiting around for 3 years. And when you talk to Director Weiner, one of the things that's in the minutes is that they're working on the certified local government report that's delinquent, and we have a new one coming up. I just wanted him to clarify if that John Ciampa person's working on it, because on his resume, he says he does a lot of it. Okay. Since the last meeting, I mentioned the council has given a consultant agreement to somebody for working with community development. I encourage you to look at his resume. He's got some very good qualifications. I know we can't communicate directly to him, but I'm hoping that with him on board, we'll be able to get a lot more stuff. I've taken 2 webinars since the last month that we met. One is on Historic Districts Explained, and the other one is with regards to haunted Southern California properties, which was fascinating. And we have some legends in our own community that would be good. We took care of, you're going to get us a rules of conduct when it gets finalized, and you're going to be able to send that to us irrespective of the next meeting. Whenever you get it, you can send it to us. Great. One of the things that I've been asked is we had the person that came and talked about Ann Baker last month, and apparently there's some stuff in the home and in the house. We've talked about, well, I've talked about at least getting park benches in around the fountain over there like they had before COVID. But there is a bench that's being offered to the community that's got the name Redondo Beach on it. That's what I sent in the packet, the J3. Do we need to agendize having a discussion about benches in the park?
Well, I'd really like to get Kelly's input on that, because I'm sure it's one of those items that kind of saddles Recreation and Parks and Public Works. But if you vote to agendize it, it just means that we'll bring it back, and if we have a update regarding a direction it goes in, we can just provide that the next time. So it's really up to commission.
Well, if I agendize it, it's going to be without a staff report. So if she wants to object to it or Ashley wants to do a staff report, she has the option of doing it. It's a voluntary process.
Right.
So if you're saying we should wait, then I'll talk to Kelly offline.
I would wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then January is Charter Month, and we can have another display out there.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it all year.
Okay, great. That's it, all I have on my list. Does anybody else have anything?
Short list.
Nope. Okay, so next item is adjournment. The next meeting of the Redondo Beach Public Amenities Commission will be a regular meeting held at 6:30 on December 10th, 2025. It's the intention of, right here, it's the intention of the city of Redondo Beach to comply with Americans with Disability Acts in all respects. If as an attendee or a participant at this meeting, you need special assistance beyond what is normally provided, the city will attempt to accommodate you in every reasonable manner. Please contact the city clerk's office at 310-318-0656 at least 48 hours prior to the meeting to inform us of your particular needs and to determine if an accommodation is feasible. Please advise us at that time if you need an accommodation to attend or participate in meetings on a regular basis. An agenda packet is available 24 hours at www.redondo.org under the city clerk. And I believe it's also posted outside. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Do you want to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
All opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.